So I said, I'm just going to open up my own firm and let's see what happens. And here we are today, where we have over 65 people on staff. And our goal is to kind of be the Google or Apple of immigration law services in the United States. I had to change my voice and pretend to be someone else to sell my own legal services. If that's not some type of complex that probably needs psychological help, I'm not sure what is, but it was only a 2-month season until I got enough revenue to hire a real person. Criminal defense attorney, you are probably going to lose a lot, but that doesn't mean you suck. It just means that there's another day to try again tomorrow. So people who are not risk adverse and who don't mind losing because they believe in the fight are perfect people to be immigration lawyers.
Hello, and welcome to Global Achievers. On this week's episode, we have Hillary Walsh. She's the owner and founder of New Frontier Law Firm. They are a law firm based in Phoenix, Arizona, and they specialize in immigration law. We're going to be talking to her about her incredible journey of opening up this law firm, her plans on exponential growth, and finally, her mission to get 1 million people their papers. So stick around, we'll be right back. Welcome to another very exciting episode of Global Achievers. We have Hillary Walsh with us from Phoenix, Arizona. And Hillary, I'm really glad you're here today. Thanks for your time. And we have so much to talk about. Your law firm, you're on a mission to get 1 million people their papers. We're going to do all that. But before that, I usually start off my interviews by talking about something, from the past, from the very beginning, whatever you're comfortable sharing.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And I feel like I'm stepping into some big shoes because you've had some awesome people on. So thank you very much for that. It is hard to know where the entrepreneurial journey begins, because I think that sometimes we're born with it and sometimes it finds us. But for me, I think that it was really helpful for me watching my parents. My mom and dad graduated high school, and my mom got married when she was 17. So, they graduated high school and built a life together. And it was a non-traditional path to success, because I guess they're kind of the American dream, because you don't have to have a piece of paper, like a college diploma, in order to find success in the US, where in other places we've lived, if you don't get put on the right path, you're stuck, and you don't have that in the US, which we're really grateful for. But watching my parents kind of forge their own way and make lots of mistakes along the way, and being really imperfect people. Part of that included me getting put in foster care, taken out of the home for a while because of domestic violence in the home, but yet still making it happen. And that's given me a lot of, I guess, belief in myself as an entrepreneur and mom and wife, that there's no right or wrong way. There just is. And the only way forward is to put one foot in front of the other.
Okay, perfect. And what got you motivated towards pursuing a career in law?
It really was while I was in foster care. So I was temporarily in foster care. Wasn't a long experience. Some kids grow up and live in foster care, and that's definitely not my experience. But I didn't grow up in a family where we had lawyers and doctors and judges and folks who are in that space, where it's funny because now all of my friends are lawyers, and well, not all of my friends, but many of my friends are lawyers because we just run together. I didn't grow up that way. So my first experience in court was first reading John Grisham books. He writes all of those great lawyer books. And then in real life was when I went to court to see if the judge wanted to reunify me with my parents after having taken me out of the home for child abuse. And that was a horrible experience for me. And one of the moments in my life I still kind of circle on the calendar and say was the hardest, one of the hardest experiences in my life as a 15-year-old kid. but it really paved the way for me for being very fascinated by the law and for representing people who perhaps didn't have a voice, which is really cool that I get to do it every day now as an immigration attorney in Phoenix, Arizona. We border Mexico. And so we have a lot of folks here who need someone to stand in the fray for them and help them fight for their right to stay in the United States where they believe that they belong.
Okay, perfect. And about immigration law, how did you initially get fascinated by it? How did you was there like a moment that you decided that, you know what, this is what I really want to pursue?
Man, I think there's like a yes and a no, but a part of it was I was told the immigration law was about as complex as it gets. Little did I, and I was really attracted to that. Little did I know, I wish sometimes that I had picked less of a moving target, because as an attorney, you want to be able to tell your clients that based on my experience, this is the probability and this is what the likely outcome is going to be. And as an immigration lawyer in the United States, it really is more like, based on my experience, I can't tell you what the probability is going to be. The wind will change tomorrow and we'll see what tomorrow brings. And that actually doesn't bring a lot of warm, you can imagine that doesn't give my clients a lot of warm fuzzies. So I was attracted to it because it was complicated. I got what I asked for, and it's really complicated. But the human aspect of helping people with the law within the space of immigration law is so cool, because I think it's one of the unique characteristics that the United States has. I've never lived in Canada, so I can't really speak to Canada other than having visited a few provinces. But we lived in Korea, we lived in Japan, and we lived in England. And my experience in all of those countries, a little bit less England, but definitely in Japan and definitely in Korea, is if you are not Asian, everyone knows that you are not from there. When you come to the United States, you can be all sorts of things, and no one knows whether you're from there or not. And I think that's one of the things I love about being in the United States. And related to that is, that's why I love immigration law.
Okay. So you started your firm in 2019, but before that, you had come across some challenges about finding employment. And I guess that's what kind of led you on this path to entrepreneurship. So could you shed some light about that?
Yes, I was super frustrated because I'm a air quote good American. I only speak English. I speak no other languages. You go to so many other countries and people speak 2, 3, 4 languages. And here I am, an immigration lawyer representing people from all around the world, and I only speak English. So being in Arizona as a border state, speaking Spanish is really critical to being able to ethically, and basically at all communicate with your client. If you can't talk to them, how can you explain what the outcome is going to be? So the nonprofit I really wanted to work for here, it's mandatory that you have a proficiency in Spanish and English. So I found myself extremely qualified to do the legal work and really limited because I didn't speak Spanish. And mind you, I wanted to speak Spanish and I had been trying, but I had also had 4 kids in 4 years. So I had my hands full, and there was some Spanish coming in, but not really landing because I don't think I was sleeping enough. So I decided, well, I don't want to work for someone. I'd done commercial litigation before I had become an immigration attorney. And I didn't want to go back to doing commercial litigation because I didn't find it to be as rewarding and kind of what I wanted to work in my mission and my purpose. So I said, I'm just going to open up my own firm and let's see what happens. And here we are today, where we have over 65 people on staff. And our goal is to kind of be the Google or Apple of immigration law services in the United States, where we are accessible, affordable, and provide a service unmatched by anyone else.
Okay. Very nice. So 65 people are working for you at the present time. Could you maybe just give us a breakdown of how many are actually lawyers and how many people are working in support staff, that kind of thing?
Yeah, today, actually, I should say we're 85 people because we're onboarding 20 people as we speak, which is a huge testament to my amazing staff.
Mhm.
The pandemic really stretched us, but I am grateful that we were set up for remote work success before the pandemic began. How I think the universe had my back in that moment was in 2019. This is a funny story. I I didn't have a receptionist. I had a box of documents that was a diaper box. It was a Pampers box. That was my office, and so I had an old iPhone, like an iPhone 4, if you can remember those. I had an iPhone 4. I had a SIM card in it, and I started using that as my office line. So when that phone rang, I knew this was my moment to shine. But unfortunately, everybody I talked to who would call didn't want to pay to get legal advice from the attorney who was picking up her own phone. They just wanted a quick answer. And I was not skilled enough to be able to pivot and really insist that no, like, you got to pay me to answer this. I felt like, man, it's so easy for me just to answer their question. It doesn't cost me anything. I'll just tell them. When in reality, it cost me tens of thousands of dollars of student loans that I still have a little bit of today. So it does cost something to tell someone what you feel like is free advice. So I hired a alter ego who I named Sarah. And it was me, and I pretended to be a woman named Sarah on the phone to collect consultation fees to then speak with the attorney, Hillary. And it was the only way, you got to do what you got to do. But it was the only way I knew how to create a buffer between my potential client and someone who needed to pay for my time to speak to me. So, and I didn't have money for staff because I didn't have any clients. So, I created this alter ego. Sarah answered the phone, collected payment. But then I quickly learned that my demographic of client needed to speak to a Sarah who could also speak Spanish, because this English only receptionist was really sucking at helping Spanish speaking clients. So I hired a translator, and her name is Maria. And she's been with the firm. It was 3 years in April, and the firm is 3 years and 2 months old. So she had a medical condition at the time that meant she couldn't be out in the heat in Phoenix. And April, May, June, too hot. So she immediately began working from home. And thus a remote law firm was born out of necessity, and really the fortuitousness of things than anything else. And I started then looking worldwide. We don't have to be limited to the United States. We don't have to be limited to my zip code here in Phoenix. Where can I find talent anywhere? Because if we're going to be the Netflix, the Google, like this international company helping immigrants in the United States, how can we do that? And we have to think bigger than in my area code. So I started hiring staff in Mexico because they speak the brand and dialect and lingo of Spanish that my clients speak, because many of them are from Mexico. One person at a time later. And now we have two of those ladies who've been with me for a couple of years now, and they're doing all of my onboarding for this team for the next 10 days. And we will grow to a staff of 85 people overnight. And I'm so thankful to them because it would stress me out a lot. And they're teachers by trade. They just love teaching, and they're going to make it happen. So shout out to Karen and to Dulce for making that happen.
So first of all, this alter ego we're talking about, did you change your voice when
Totally. At least I thought that I did.
Oh.
Yes. And people would say, your receptionist sounds so much like you. And I was like, I hear that all the time. And I never said that my receptionist wasn't me. It was just like, I would answer and say, this is Sarah. Yes, let me connect you to the attorney. So it was like, I realize I'm kind of blending the truth. And I don't do that as a lawyer, but as a young entrepreneur, it was the only way for me. I had to mentally become someone else to sell my own legal services, because I had such low belief in myself about the value that I could bring. And I don't know if that's a woman thing. I don't know if that's a Hillary thing. I'm sure other people can relate, because when I talk to other lawyers, they have a similar issue. But I also quickly changed my law firm name for that same reason, because I would sell Sarah would sell the consultation, and then eventually Maria, a real human named Maria, would sell the consultation. But then I would get in there and I would want to say things like, "We are your best option." But when my law firm was named the Law Office of Hillary Gaston Walsh, I felt like I was saying, "I am your best option." And I was really uncomfortable with that. So I changed it to match much more. Netflix is, I can't remember the guy's name, who's the founder of Netflix off the top of my head. He's the co-founder, but it's not called his name, like online streaming. It's called Netflix. And I wanted something that mirrored the level that I wanted to bring our company to someday, which was a new frontier. And the new frontier is something that is always expanding as we learn more and more about how deep the ocean is and how robust the universe is. So anyway, I had to change my voice and pretend to be someone else to sell my own legal services. If that's not some type of complex, it probably needs psychological help. I'm not sure what is, but it was only a 2-month season until I got enough revenue to hire a real person.
Got it. No, I think that it's also important to understand, as you said previously, is that you were giving away advice which was free. The reason why you thought that was the case is because you knew the information, at least the right kind of information. So you felt that, you know what, I might as well just guide this person who's on the phone. So see, as professionals, sometimes it is difficult for us to ask for money where we're trying to commercialize something which we know that, it's ready-made, right? It's readily available. I know what I need to tell them, so I'm just going to tell them. So how do you actually commercialize that? So as your alter ego, it was easier for you to ask for money as a lawyer, which you couldn't. I think that maybe that was one of the things, right?
I also think it's for me, when I am, one of my requirements as an attorney is to be a zealous advocate for someone. And when you're holding out your hand saying, "Give me your money," while at the same time saying, "I am your zealous advocate," there creates what feels like a conflict of interest, because you don't want to be the banker and the person's advocate. It's a creditor and the person's advocate. It's a tricky feeling. So now that we have 6 attorneys on staff, and one of their roles is never to collect money. If they see that the client hasn't paid and the person's behind on payment, we know to honor that, we want to be paid as attorneys from the law firm. The only way the law firm can pay us is if it's paid. So we can't work on people's cases if they're behind on payment. And that's the depth that they have to get into on payments. They are not the person calling and, doing the client shakedown if they're behind on payments or something like that. Because I do think that it creates a division within the heart of service if you're really focused on the money. So we have other people on staff. We call it our accounting department. And they're in charge of making sure that the client honors their end of the deal by collecting payment. So my attorneys are able to just go out and be fierce fighters.
Right. Got it. So leave it to accounts receivable. Right?
Leave it to the accountants. And, there are some people who love conversations about money and there are others who don't. Mm-hmm. And I think a big disservice in the legal profession is we're kind of taught that giving our services away for free is to be expected on some level. We call it pro bono services. And mm-hmm. I won a national award for all the pro bono work that I did. So I absolutely love doing pro bono work. But man, when it came time for me to pay my bills, there was no check to write. And I was doing all this pro bono work to get love and affection and appreciation from my pro bono clients. While at the same time, I had to put my kid in daycare in order to do the work. And I didn't have money for a good daycare. And I remember going and picking my son up at daycare one time at literally the cheapest daycare I could find, which no mother you never want to bargain shop for tattoos or for daycares. Like you want to spend some cash on those things because they have lasting effects. But I budget shopped for daycare, and I got a daycare that was the cheapest that I could find so that I could afford it. And even then it was a financial stress. And my little 9-month-old floppy baby was on the floor of the daycare one day when I went in after having come back from court, working for clients for free. And he was screaming this horrendous scream that a mother knows something is terribly wrong. And I rush over, click, 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 click in my high heels over and pick him up. And he is soaked wet and he smells like bleach. And he's rubbing his eyes and they're running. And what happened was the daycare worker had bleached the floor. It was like that, lunchroom, high school lunchroom flooring. We call it VCT. And she wiped the floor down with a big old mop of bleach water and then laid my baby on it. And he was at the age where he could roll over, but then he would get stuck. And then he rolled back over and he was on his back and his hands had gotten all over in that bleach water and he was rubbing it in his eyes. And so when you do not have the nerve, I don't know your audience's flavor, I won't say the word I'm thinking of, but when you don't have the nerve to charge for your services, just know that someone in your life is paying the price. And it might be your self-worth, but it might be your kid who is in a daycare because you wouldn't charge your client. You wanted to get love and satisfaction from them. You wanted to do the right thing, but someone is paying that price. So you have to make a decision about who it's going to be. And from that point forward, I don't do any more pro bono work. There's low bono work. I might charge someone $20 a week for their case, but I won't work for free for people anymore because someone is paying the price. That was a hard lesson for me to have to learn through my little guy who's almost 5 now. So I learned that lesson once and didn't have to learn it again.
Right. I hear similar things from a lot of people I speak to. One of the advantages of me being on this side is that I do get to interact with various types of business owners and professionals. So, for example, photographers would tell me that, people don't want to pay because they think that, oh, you're just here to click some photos and be done with it. But they don't think about the cost of equipment, of hours spent on training yourself, on doing actually low paying jobs initially to get started. Like, people don't want to care for that. Or I hear for so many different kinds of people that they leave money on the table, or at least they left money on the table initially when they started because they just wanted to get the job. But in your case, as you said, pro bono is completely free. It's not even about any money changing hands. So the thing is that, as you said, that nowadays it's low bono, or you're charging a very low rate, which is really probably nothing compared to what you're actually charging other people, right? Full price. But the thing is that at least there is a sense of accountability from their side as well, is that they are putting in the money in order to get that service so that they don't take it for granted. I think that is also another side of things.
I think that it all comes down to the audience too. So for me, I've worked with photographers. I'm just using the photographer example because it's so spot on. It looks so easy. I mean, I have an iPhone that takes awesome photos. And yet, why am I reaching out and calling a professional photographer? Because the amazing lands on my iPhone. And I have a DSLR camera. Like I've tried to buy all the tools so that I could snap beautiful photos of my kids that are like lifelong memories because I want to savor that. And yet I still schedule family photos and headshots. And if you're having a sales conversation with someone where you're figuring out if these photos, if you are 80 years old on your front porch and you're wanting to go through all of your photo albums over your life and they're all iPhone snapped photos, or they're just okay quality, how are you going to feel? You're going to want to look back on memories that, you may not even have those memories anymore because if you're like me, I have dementia in my family. When I look back on these photos, I want them to be really crystal clear. I want to see what my kids looked like. Is that what you also want? Yes, absolutely. I can help you provide that. Like I can help provide that for you. And here's how. And then you really tie them into what it is that they want, which is a value that cannot be described. It can only be felt. And when you get into that part of a sales conversation with someone, whatever you're selling, you really go deeper and they get that you get what it is that they want on the other end. This is more than a Pinterest mood board that they're sharing, right?
Yes. So well said. So well said. So, as you grow your organization, how much of the operational or day-to-day stuff are you actually involved with?
Man, way more than I wish. It's hard work. The operations of a business, I mean, I think the hardest job I've ever had in terms of like hard work, where you're out and you just are beat at the end of the day, was being a waitress. When I was a waitress, this was harder than when I worked in fast food in college, was being a waitress at a steakhouse. And you're cleaning your area and you're trying to get tips and all of this. It's just hard. These days, it's still really hard because it's the management of people and internally. You have to keep your people, I was going to say happy, but really it's appreciated, because you can be unhappy but feel appreciated. You have to let your people know, I appreciate you, I hear you. And that has to come in now 85 different forms, because everybody receives appreciation differently, while at the same time providing a service. And customer service is tricky because people have different expectations of what things ought to be run like. And you have to honor your promises. But the day-to-day operations, I've never done any of the bookkeeping. There's a running joke that lawyers are bad at math, and I believe that I'm not the bookkeeper type of person. So I've always had a bookkeeper, and we have someone who does our payroll and things like that. But making sure that the trains leave on time, I'm very involved in making sure that filings go out, clients are satisfied, the client is updated, those types of things I'm very involved in. Not to say that I don't have awesome support as well, but that is something I still feel very much in the driver's seat on.
Okay. Um, Last time we talked, I remember that you have a goal of growing your company to about 200 people by next year, which is an awesome goal, obviously. Now, as you grow, are there kind of certain personality traits that you look for in every employee, irrespective of the kind of work they'll be doing?
Yes, and it's emotional intelligence. So if someone is not empathetic, and one of the ways that I test emotional intelligence, I don't have a lot of experience in like research and, like many books or anything like that on emotional intelligence. So I might be going about this all wrong, but the way I've figured it out is, if a person can't visualize and imagine that the person on the other end of the phone is their family member who they care about. Sometimes we don't like our family members, so we don't want it to be the family member we don't like. We want it to be like our mom or our cousin who is going through a hard time, and that person might be ticked off. That person might have just, had a really hard day and they're just frustrated. We still have to call and give them good news and bad news. We can't avoid them, and we can't give them half truths, because if this is my mom, I'm going to call and give this news to, I'm going to level with her and tell her the whole truth. And I'm going to be there to receive how she feels. And if someone on team can't do that, if they avoid it, if they feel like it's their personal responsibility and they take it all very personal, that person won't be a good fit in our company. So that's kind of my litmus test, is how much can you feel like this person is your brother or sister. And like, I believe that we're all related. I don't believe that we are just like, I have 4 kids and a spouse. That's my family. But I have such a bigger obligation that I have a universal family. And that's kind of part of who we are. And if people can't get on board with that, then they aren't going to like me. They aren't going to like working with us,
Okay. As we wind down, I was curious to learn a couple of different things from you. One would be, who do you think should actually pursue a career as an immigration lawyer?
Immigration lawyers have to be okay with not knowing the outcome. So you have to be okay with risk. And lawyers are typically not real risky people. That's why we like to see, we are very studied. So people who are okay with taking risk, and it's okay to be wrong and make mistakes, never on purpose, but to know that I'm going to try my best and I'm going to lose a lot, but that doesn't have any bearing on who I am as a person or my skill. It just is the name of the game. It's kind of like a public defender, a criminal defense attorney. You are probably going to lose a lot, but that doesn't mean you suck. It just means that there's another day to try again tomorrow. So people who are not risk adverse and who don't mind losing because they believe in the fight are perfect people to be immigration lawyers, whether you speak Spanish or not, or other languages or not.
Right. You started a firm. A lot of lawyers work in corporate. So, in your opinion, like, who should actually pursue a business in this space as opposed to working for a company?
Yeah, it's funny. There's a phrase I heard recently, like entrepreneurs are the only people who will work 80 hours to not work 40. Have you heard this phrase? Something to that
Yep,
effect?
yep.
It's so
I'm a
true.
living proof of that. So I know.
Yes,
Yeah.
me too. Me too. So I think that if you're someone who you feel like, I just really know me and I don't think anybody else can do it my way, and my way is going to be the best way, and I'm willing to go all in on that, then you're the perfect person to own your own business. Not in a, you need to be right. Like I want to be wrong. I want people on my team to tell me you're wrong. This is not going to work. And here's why. I want to have the open dialogue. But when it comes to being innovative, for example, it's one of our core values. Every single thing we do, we got to be innovative, because if someone else is doing it for cheaper and more efficiently, then we shouldn't be offering that service. We should be finding innovative ways to help solve this problem, because that's where our value lies. And that's what's fun about business for me, is being innovative.
Okay. Excellent. So we have discussed a lot of different things. You have added a lot of value to our audience. One of the final things I guess I want to know from you is about your mission. The mission to get 1 million people their papers.
Yes. So I don't know if you've heard of the big, hairy, audacious goal. So I don't remember the author who first established that, but it's kind of a thing. I think it might be Jim Collier, but I don't know off the top of my head. Anyway, the idea is that you want to set a life goal for, like, I want a lasting company. I want a company that outlives me. So I have to set a goal and have a mission that probably can't be achieved within my lifetime. Maybe it can, but probably it won't. So how can I have a company that outlives me? Set a mission that outlives me, that's so much bigger than who I am, by any stretch of the imagination. So we help about 100 people a month right now. We bring on about 100 new clients a month. So getting to 1 million seems dang near impossible. I'm going to be like the lady on the Titanic at the end, and she's like so old, and she's like, I'm almost to my million now, my million people that I've helped. I don't want to be that Titanic lady and still striving for that. But I do want to set the goal that is like, we're not done yet. There's no amount of our work here is done until everybody's got their papers. So let's just go for 1 million.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you so much for your time today. You were awesome to talk to, and I really enjoyed my conversation. Hillary, if people wanted to find you or your law firm, where would they look?
Yes, our law firm presence is really dominant on Facebook. Mm-hmm. So it's New Frontier Immigration Law on Facebook. We have content in English and Spanish because I don't speak Spanish still very well, but I do fake it sometimes and get a good chuckle out of that. Mm-hmm. And then my personal platform is The Hillary Show on Instagram, and it's _Hillary_show. And I put out some fun content that's kind of related to mindset and entrepreneurial achievement and struggle, equal measure.
Okay, perfect. And all that information will be in the description box below. So if anyone wants to find her, those would be the best places to look. Hillary, thank you again for your time today. I wish you all the best. I know you have the TEDx talk coming up in September. I will be looking out for that for sure. And you know what? I wish you all the best to achieving your mission.
Thank you so much. I look forward to being on the other side of it, hopefully.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate that. If you like what you saw, then hit the like button. It really helps with YouTube's algorithm. If you want to see similar kind of videos, then let us know in the comment box below. And also, we're going to be posting once a week going forward. So if you want to see similar kind of videos, then subscribe to the channel. Thanks again, and we'll see you on the next one.